with postbiotics, I think it's so incredible because there's a lot of research coming out around postbiotics, and now we are seeing this word being used on packaging and marketing.
Yeah.
So, what exactly are postbiotics? You've mentioned it already, but just to reiterate, um, exactly what is it?
It is the postbiotic is the conversion and the benefit that the pre and probiotics have together,
Hmm.
right? It's what pre and probiotics produce.
Okay.
So postbiotics, like I said, it is like the short chain fatty acids.
Hmm.
It is the molecule and the production of everything that creates the benefit of pre and probiotics. I did a course on postbiotics. Oh my gosh, like 9 years ago from it was an online course from Japan. And um it was so fascinating, but no one was even talking about it back then. And I I I'm glad people are talking about it now because I
Hmm.
think people are going to have to be more aware of, what they're using as a prebiotic. They're going to be more educated like, "Oh, okay, that's interesting. This is what this pre and probiotic do together."
Hmm.
Have to be careful though because again, we're isolating what we feel is beneficial, right?
Hmm.
And we're saying, "Okay, but it's only what we can test for." And that's like I'm thrilled that gut health is in our face all the time because I think it's
Yeah.
really important. I do.
Hmm.
But I'm also a little worried that we're going to go down a slippery slope if we try and control it too much, you know, because what we see, like on a fecal test, let's say, like we're going to do a poop test.
Hmm.
We're seeing what's happening in that moment. It's a snapshot, right? 12 hours later, 6 hours later, even less, that poop is going to be different
Mm.
than it was then. So when we're looking at postbiotics, I think of it sort of the same way is that we can I talk about that with CBD, I talk about that with phytoplankton is our ability and mushrooms, really huge, big time with mushrooms. Like we're looking at polyphenols, triterpenes, polysaccharides, but that's just because that's what we can test for and that's what we know what to test for. It
Yeah.
has so much more. Like
Hmm.
so much more. And I feel the same with the gut microbiome. I feel like when people go, "Oh, we're gonna put these postbiotics in," we are isolating the postbiotics based on what we can test for, rather than allowing the body to produce what it inherently knows how to produce with the pre and pro.
Okay.
I think it's a good idea. Don't get me wrong. I think it's a good idea. I think we just have to be careful.
So we've been seeing products, supplements pop up on the market lately, and they claim that they put a postbiotic inside this product.
Yeah.
So we were wondering, is that actually something that can be done, or is that like a false marketing claim?
No, it is something that can be done. And and for me, we may do that down the road a little bit. You know me, is I won't ever put anything on in anything because it's a fad or because someone else has told me that's what I need to do. I'm so science based and I have to be proving everything and whatever. I'm a bit anal when it comes to that. Um, so for me, my concern is that we are forcing then the body to take something that would inherently produce these on their own. And do we have the tools to be able to capture all of it and isolate all of it? Or are we isolating just what we can measure scientifically now and adding that. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
It's
Mhm.
makes sense.
basically everything is doable. So, you know, when we talked about our cancer project, and I was saying, like, I'm not a big kind of like not isolation or fractionization fan, but we had to do that in this case. And when we isolate strains of probiotics, we do the same thing, but we're isolating them from um, the feces independent of the prebiotics, right?
Mhm.
So we're isolating only bacteria, only the probiotic bacteria. And then we've done some studies with like the wolf and turkey tail and chlorella and soil and soil probiotics, right?
Mhm.
To see the postbiotic effect of those two working synergistically.
Mhm.
And when we see that, it is mind-blowing. So I'm still leery of being able to say, oh yeah, because it's the part that's very beneficial, right? It's the end result.
Mhm.
Mhm.
So if I'm just a little worried of taking what we assume the end result should be
Mm.
and adding that,
Yeah. Yeah.
right? Rather than just allowing the body
Mhm.
to produce that postbiotic on its own
Mhm.
by creating a prebiotic that we know plays really, really well with the bacteria that then produces phenomenal postbiotic effects. Because
Mhm.
what's going to happen is that people are just going to use maltodextrin, some basic probiotic, and then take a postbiotic and mix that, right?
Mhm.
Mhm.
It's kind of like, I don't know, my I was trying to explain this to my sales team, and I don't know whether you can cut this out if you have to.
Okay.
My one sales manager said something like, "Well, it's sort of like having an orgasm without having sex,"
Oh,
right?
that threw me off.
That was
So
unexpected.
it's kind of like we're missing the dance, right? We're
Yeah,
missing the
yeah.
dance. We don't know we aren't 100% sure what that dance is. We can
Mhm.
see it under a microscope, and we have the tools to do it, right? So, like I said, I may wind up producing a postbiotic, but I'm not going to do that unless I know that that postbiotic is all that it could be.
Mhm.
I'm not just going to go, okay, I'm going to take a postbiotic from inulin and 2 strains of probiotics, right? Because for me, that postbiotic isn't going to be the same as taking a postbiotic from 14 strains or a species specific strain and a functional prebiotic.
Mhm.
Mhm.
Yeah.
They're going to
That's
be different.
yeah.
And you're trying to create this without performing this.
Mhm.
It's
You
kind
know,
of like a
it's
it's almost like cheating a little bit. Like
Yeah,
like
and I am concerned about I'm more for me right now, my research is going into how do I actually get the body to create the most beneficial postbiotic possible? How
mhm.
do I get it? Because I feel the body knows what it needs more than we do.
Mhm.
I feel like the microbiome of the gut is so intelligent, beyond our intelligence. We don't even have the tools yet in science to really, really, really figure it out, right? So why not? For me, for me, I feel like I would be playing with something that still isn't for me the most beneficial way to get the postbiotic. The most beneficial way for me to get the best postbiotic effect possible is to create phenomenal pre and probiotics. And then the body kind of does the magic and chooses what postbiotic is the
Mhm.
most beneficial, not even then, but every moment.
Mhm.
every
Yeah.
minute, every time it ingests some other different food, every time
Mhm.
it's changing
Yeah.
constantly.
Because just like you said, like the poop from today is going to be completely different than the poop from tomorrow. So the
Right.
body knows best what it needs right in that moment.
Yeah. Yeah. So, I love all the science, and I kudos to people that are doing different things and whatever. For me, I'm just more that person that if I can support the body to do what it's supposed to do independently.
Mhm.
So that's like saying, okay, this jar is going to do exactly the same thing for Charlie and Larry. I don't want that jar to do exactly the same thing for Charlie. That's very
Mhm.
standardization. And
Mhm.
I don't think health is standardized. I just don't. I think, as someone that's had, 7 different vet clinics and worked with over, you know, close to 40,000 animals just in that in that space, every single body's individual. No matter
Yeah.
what you want to say, everybody is individual.
Mhm.
And I like producing things that I can feel confident will produce the effects individually for every single body that ingests it, and
Mhm.
that it will function in the way that the body will know what it needs to address, rather than forcing something that's been already produced, assuming that's what that body needs.
Mhm. Yeah.
Well, I would far rather, I'm not saying it's not beneficial, I'm not saying it's bad, but for me, I want to fine tune the probiotic and prebiotic aspect of it so that it can be more individualized in the gut. The gut can individualize it more.
It makes so much sense, and it's so interesting to hear you talk about it because like, the way that you think about certain things is just so different from anything else that's out there, and your integrity just always remains unbroken. So like, just because there's like a new thing out there doesn't mean that you're just going to jump into that and produce it without thoroughly understand or researching it. So it's just so great to get a insight into your thoughts about that. Did you like this little preview? If you did, head to the next video to catch the full podcast episode and get even more valuable insights on this topic. Subscribe to this channel for more pet wellness insights.